Hi there, I'm Evan.
And I'm Mark.
Today we talk about Mark being with body women. Body women? No, bodybuilding women?
Bodybuilding women.
Bodybuilding women and how it makes him insecure.
Today, in fact, we get to that, but really, we actually do a deep dive on how to build a proper podcast because apparently I wasn't doing it right.
Oh, we're so tactical. Usually we just sprinkle some bacon bits on top and let people
And
digest.
call it a day.
Yeah, a little bit in our intros. All right. Well, that's the show. Enjoy. Welcome to the Something to Prove podcast. We're here to change lives, starting with Mark Drager. He's praying.
Welcome one, welcome all. I like how there's no little banter, there's no nothing. We're 1 minute early, you hit record, and there we go.
Sometimes that happens.
Perfect. We're going to do something different today, Evan.
Ooh, okay.
You're still going to help me. You're going to help me, but it's going to be something different. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Perfect. No more banter, none of that stuff. Here's what I want to do. I want to start interviewing more people.
Okay.
And I'm going to be doing a different podcast with a slightly different format. But I really want to speak to people about how they overcame doubt or hardship. Really focused on thinking big, being bold, saying yes, the things that I think we need to do. Either the times that people didn't and it held them back, or the times that they did and they were able to push through those like really deep valleys to learn something about them on the other side.
How was Louis?
How was Louis? What did he tell you that I was practicing on him?
No, Mark.
You just happened to know. It was good. It was a good practice. I learned a lot. I cut it off after like 20 minutes because I was like, wow, I'm not taking this the direction I want. I'm not doing this the way that I want to do it.
What happened there?
I just realized that I focused too much initially on doubt. It became a really just down conversation, and I don't want this to be negative. I want it to be positive. I don't want it to be too focused on doubt. I wanted to be focused on overcoming doubt, which is a very action-based thing. And so I just didn't do a good job of taking it the direction I want to take it. So
okay, so let's practice.
That's what I want to do. I want to practice with you first.
Okay, go.
Second, hold on.
Go.
Second, for any of our listeners,
We'll get the second later.
I want to practice with 3 of our listeners. So I would love you guys to email me. You can email me mark@markdrager.com. If you'd like to connect with me for a one-on-one, I would love to practice by interviewing you. So I'm going to pick 3 people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing.
Here's the thing. I like it. We like the here's the thing.
I already know you really well, Evan. I don't know if you're going to play along with this or not, but if I was interviewing you, if we didn't know each other and I was interviewing you, I'd be interviewing you for the book, right? You have this new book out. I would have used that hook, Built to Serve, to get you to come out. And I would have asked you a bunch of questions. So are you willing to play as if you don't know me that well?
Maybe.
Here we go. Evan Carmichael, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast that's yet unnamed. How you doing? What's
the intro? Is there no intro?
Well, I would record that after the fact. I would probably write something. I would say Evan Carmichael, he's an entrepreneur, he's a business person. You probably know him from his top 10 list on YouTube with over 2 million people, blah, 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 blah. He's great. We had a really great conversation.
Boo, right there. We need to fix it. Okay.
Fine. We will fix that in post. We'll fix it in post.
No. I think you fixed it now. I think the introduction should never be their website and whatever, right? Like never look at their corporate bio and pull that as their introduction. Because it's the same boring
thing that everyone does.
Exactly. And what it does is it doesn't connect you to your guest enough. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So your introduction should be something that you like about the person.
Perfect. Evan, one thing that I did hear you talk about early on.
Where's the introduction? Oh, this is the introduction?
This is my introduction.
Okay. So my guest today is Evan Carmichael.
Oh, I would record that after the fact and then I would jump into the conversation. But my guest today is Evan Carmichael. And Evan, thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to get straight into it. One thing that I heard you say early on that's always stuck with me is that you built everything that you have right now because you did not have it yourself. You were an entrepreneur early on. You were struggling to get through things, and you did say that. I have not only a memory of it, but I have video of you talking about it.
I built everything that I didn't have myself. Is that the line?
All of the tools. All of the tools, your daily motivation, the videos, the channel, the turning to others to learn from them, You built it because you wanted it for yourself. Can you talk to me about building stuff that doesn't exist in the world because you wish you had it?
No. Okay, so that's better. That's
something I'm actually interested in.
No. Okay, that's something. Yeah, I agree. Listen, that's great. So that's slightly. I didn't understand what you were saying. That I built it because I didn't have it. Anyway, that could be better, but it's better than the first boring corporate intro. Now you need to tell me why it matters to you. Don't just ask me the question.
Here's why it matters to me more than. Here's the thing, Evan.
Hmm?
Here, I'll get better at this. This is now getting really uncomfortable. Here's why it matters to me, because I've spent most of my career building things for others when overlooking the things that are missing. And only a year or two ago, I started actively working to say, I wish I had this, so I'm going to start building it. And it's a scary place. You're stepping out on a ledge. You're doing things that you haven't done before. You're growing. And it seems like you've done this years ago, and now you have the success. You've hit this new level. You have millions of people following you, but it all started with you creating something that you wish someone else had already created. Is that good or bad?
I'm confused. So what's your problem?
Why don't you let me interview you the way I want to, rather than you?
Because it sucks. And we're
you
trying
want
to make
me
it better.
to interview you the way that you want me.
No,
you're not wearing my skin right now.
Yes, I am.
No,
yes,
you're not, Mr. Carmichael.
Yes,
no, you're not.
Am. Yes, I am. We're helping Mark build a real show.
Here's what I would do.
I don't care what you
have a conversation with you, and then I would cherry pick the 3 or 4 through lines that I think is best. And then I want to write the introduction, and then I want to write the bridges, and then record them after the fact and package the conversation. That's the show that I envision.
And why is that not a good idea?
Because there's too much time and effort that goes into packaging something?
No.
What?
Because in the introduction, you create the opportunity to build the immediate connection to your guest, to show that you not just know them, and you're not just some other guy who wants to have them on and talk about their book, but there's a specific reason that you've actually dug into their story, that this is going to be a special conversation I'm about to have, as opposed to, hey, I'm just going to record the intro after. Let's just get into it.
Okay.
This is your chance to build
immediate rapport. This is a real struggle I've had. The reason why I haven't reached out to people, this is going to sound terrible. The reason that I haven't reached out to people is because
you're just afraid.
No, there's very few people that interest me enough that I feel that I can get into a conversation with, that I'm actually want to dig deeper with.
No, there's people. You just don't think they'll say yes to you.
Maybe.
Yeah, great.
That's what I'm saying. The people who will say yes to me, I'm not sure if I'm that interested
exactly
in digging into.
Right.
Because I have these conversations across a boardroom table or in meetings where I'm dealing with very, very smart, high-level people.
People hate their life. That's not who you want.
No, but like, here's a great example. This is outside of the podcast. Here's a great example, though. I was very, very interested in finding out the internal workings of media organizations and why they sucked so much so I could beat them, like media placement, media buying organizations. So I took 2 heads of large media companies out for lunch, and I spent 2 hours just picking their brain. I found that super, super interesting. I wanted to talk to them. I went out for lunch and talked to them. When it comes to the something to prove, when it comes to the doubt, when it comes to thinking big, being bold, and saying yes, I'm just not even sure who to talk to or how to take it. So that's why I'm practicing. That's why I'm practicing with Louis. Now I'm practicing with you.
So but part of why the practice is
faulty,
wrong, and why podcast listeners no, that knowing me is great. Part of why the practice is wrong, and podcast listeners don't write to Mark and say practice on me, because he doesn't actually respect you for this thing and doesn't care about your story. This is the problem. You're basically telling them your practice, but I don't care about your story. I don't respect you for this thing.
That's not true. That's not true. No, I thought about reaching out to Suki, and the reason I thought about it is because I thought about reaching out to her. I don't know if she's listening or not right now, but I thought about reaching out to you if you're listening, because I really want to find out what her deal is. You know, she has a lot of followers. She has a mission. She's trying to find some stuff. We've spoken a bunch of times on things. She's doing a new podcast. She's been on a reality TV show or something.
Yeah, Amazing Race or something.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what her jam is. She seems to come across as very strong, very well put together. With a lot of things to do, but then at the same time, she's asking questions that make me question? Like, does she have doubt? What's going on? Like, I'm genuinely curious to talk to her. So she would be someone I'd want to connect with.
Okay, so then be specific. You just said, I
Mhm.
don't know who I would write to or ask because I don't care about their story. And then you said, oh, Suki.
No. But I have a few people on the list and stuff. So
But great. So what is it about Suki that you are genuinely curious about and hoping to learn from her?
she portrays someone who has it all together. And yet from the questions that she asks, it appears that that's not true.
Okay. And are you gonna basically lead
You
with that?
appear, maybe you appear, Evan, to have it all together. And you do have it all together. But sometimes I see the little cracks where you're like, I should be here. I should be there. I should do this. I should do that. I've talked to you about the belief. This whole podcast is about the belief. I don't believe that you have a lack of belief, but you do have a lack of belief. So maybe this practice is stupid because I know you so well that I don't even ask questions, but
No. Knowing somebody is the strength is what you should focus more on. Knowing something about them. Practicing on randos is not going to be helpful for you. You have to be able to find something. So this morning I did a IG live with the lead pastor of TD Jake's other church, like oh my God, the Potter's House.
okay.
But North, Potter's House North. So Bishop TD Jakes runs the Potter's House. If you don't know TD Jakes, dude's a legend. They have a second church, Potter's House North, and I interviewed the lead pastor today on my IG Live.
Yes, because they're a multi-campus church.
Yeah. So we talked about having asking God for strategy, which is something that Mark and I have talked a little bit about, of not just asking God for helping me and saving me and giving me the lotto ticket and praying for somebody's safety and health and all the usual stuff. Gratitude, great. Strategy. Give me strategy, God. Tell me what to do, right? So we talked about how to pray. I said, I don't think people pray well. I think people pray for kindness and forgiveness, but they don't pray for strategy. Teach us how to pray for strategy, right? So it's something that I'm interested in. And so now I set a challenge for myself where he's off booking people for me for my IG lives that are not just entrepreneurs that I know and not just repeat, because it's easier to get into. I can find something with anybody. So I like the challenge of having somebody brand new who I have no context on and then try to find something. I can learn something from them. And until I find a thread, then that's what I'm going to pull on. So that's what I talked to her about. Like how often do we talk about God on stuff? It's not part of what I'm usually doing. So it was a good opportunity to talk to her about it. The caring, the knowing their story or something about their story, like the Suki one could be a great episode because you know that she was on a reality TV show and you look at her Instagram and it looks like she have it all together. And then you feel from her questions that she doesn't know what she's doing. It's great. That's what makes the episode special. Not that I don't know you and I'm going to figure you out on this call. This isn't a Mark is the coach. Like that's what you have to get away from. You're there to learn, not to coach this person. Right? This is not so this is a coach Mark. So you knowing and caring and loving the person is the advantage, is the strength. The more knowledge you have on somebody, awesome. You have more context to pull from. But going in cold and what you started with is I haven't reached out because I don't respect these people enough to have a conversation.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
But you're basically saying I'm not going to learn anything from these people. So I don't want to.
Listen, I used to run another podcast where when I was really interested in the topic and the guest, it would be a delightful conversation.
Yeah.
We did 50 episodes.
Yeah.
It was only interview based. That's 50 different topics with 50 different conversations with 50 different people. And when my team would bring in someone that I was like, I'm not that invested in. So I'm speaking to someone, about imposter syndrome in motion design. Like I could kind of pull a thread in that, but
you don't
I'm
care.
not really that interested in it. It was like pulling teeth.
Yes. This is why you don't want.
I'm sitting there listening, glazing over.
Yes.
And this is the problem I had. Not the problem, but this is why I stopped the conversation with Louis the other day. It's because he was being good and sincere, but the conversation wasn't going the way I wanted. I wasn't really asking him questions that
you cared about. You don't have anything dude, there's nothing in this department that you want to learn from Louis. That's the problem. Louis can teach you lots of different things, but in this area,
so is
you
there
don't care
anything
enough.
that I can ask you that I want to learn from you that I don't already ask you and I don't already bring to you, and it's not just us living life together?
Well, maybe, but that's the question you need to ask. Like, even looking at Suki, it's got to be something that you are not just curious about, but you want to pick her brain. Because what's she going to say? Of course, I'm always filled with doubt, Mark. Of course, I do Instagram because I'm trying to put my best foot forward, but really I have all these insecurities about myself and my business and where I'm trying to go. And it's why I went from a private account to a public account, and I'm trying to work on it every day. Great. Now what? What do you want to learn from her?
I want to know. I want to know more of her origin story. I want to know what she thinks her gifts and skills are. Why she feels like she's not applying them. How did she find herself on the reality TV show, and what did she learn from it, or the outcome from it? Whether what she thinks is holding her back more than anything else. Why does that happen? Is it an origin? Is it like an origin story, meaning like the from the family, from a time in her life, and then I think it's a pretty courageous thing that she did. Was it done for ego? Did she feel? Was it done for?
Okay, but how does that help you? What are you trying to learn? What do you want to learn from Suki?
She's very well spoken. She has a confidence.
What do you want to learn?
I want those things.
You want to be well spoken?
I want to be better spoken. I used to think I was well spoken. And the more that I watch myself back, the more I realize that outside of marketing in a business sense, I am not well spoken at all. The fact that I'm asking you a question to start this off, knowing you as well as I do, and you go, I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. I listen back to every single episode that we do here, and I go, what was I saying?
Okay. So where in Suki's videos? I'm can't even. I just see pictures.
Listen to her podcast.
Oh, so she's got a podcast, and she's very well spoken. Okay,
yes. And I've listened to it. Yeah.
Okay, great. You just have to be careful about. It can't just be about curiosity, and just telling somebody's story. And where I think you're going to end up is defaulting to. You're going to quickly realize, oh, I've actually figured out more than this person. And then you become a coach, or you shut it off like you did with Louis, which is not going to be, that's not the direction of the show.
Well, here's the thing. Let's say that I'm sitting across from, I was thinking about all the people that you've interviewed.
Okay.
So I'm sitting across from Robin Sharma, right? Okay. And
that was the worst interview I've ever done. Oh, the stupid leaf blower was going on in the background the whole time.
No, it's the best.
Oh my gosh.
So for anyone who doesn't realize, Robin Sharma has this thing where he leaves a book some random place so someone can find it and then have the magic moment of just finding this thing, and then maybe it'll unlock something within them. So you did the interview outside, taking one of his books, leaving it in a park, right?
Well, okay. The full story was the full story was my building had a fire alarm happening. And I'm like, in 5 minutes, I have to be on with Robin Sharma to talk about his new book. And I've connected with Robin before. I've helped him with a couple things, but it's still Robin Sharma, and he's very, amazing and protective of his brand. And I don't want to be here. It's not like I know him buddy so well that, hey, sorry, man, fire alarm, can't do it. And I saw a video of him leaving. He likes to leave his books in random places. So I thought, you know what? To honor him, I'll do the same thing. I'll take the book. We'll leave it in some random park. I happen to have a park outside. But to my awesome luck, leaf blower man is going on the whole time. And I'm trying to walk. It's freezing. I'm like, I don't know if it wasn't quite middle of winter, but it was really cold. And anyway, super. So you're interviewing Robin Sharma.
Okay,
right?
So I'm interviewing Robin Sharma. Now, here's the thing. I don't know anything about him, right? I've watched 1 or 2 of his videos. I've never read any of his books.
Then why do you want to talk to him?
Well,
just because he's had some success?
I listen to very few people. So, I listen to a bit of Gary Vee, but mainly Tom Bilyeu. Yeah, I just don't.
This podcast sucks. You need to find people who you actually want to learn from, and to think that, like, you got to do some research and find people who talk about, like, it doesn't have to be some big name. It's great that you know Tom, and I love Tom, and I love Robin, and I love Gary. I love all these guys. I mean, you're talking to people who I profile, I've had on my channel. But I would look at, maybe there's some U of T professor who studies fear and doubt and insecurities, who nobody asked to be on their channel, but you're super intrigued by their research. Like, you have to want to learn from this person, not mentor them, they're coaching you. And as soon as you feel like they can't coach you, that's going to be the problem point. That's why you shut off with Louis. It's not that it's not going in the direction that you want it to. You're not learning. That's the problem. You're not learning. So at least you shut it off. Great. But that's the problem. You won't be as short with somebody else. You'll just then become, oh, tell me more about that. And now it's just a discovery into their story or a coaching session, and not what you actually want it to be. Yeah. So you got to find those people.
Okay.
Not rando podcast listeners.
Sorry, podcast listeners.
It's true though. It's true. It's true. That's, and then the intro, like, you find guests that you want to have on, that you want to learn from, not because they're a big name like Robin Sharma, who you don't even know who he is and like what he's done or what he talks about.
What are you talking about? He shoots these great videos on white. He's bald, and he uses orange as all of his colors all the time.
Great. You don't even know what questions to ask him. Like that, what you just said needs to be the intro. Like, what you know about them. If the intro is, hey man, awesome to have, I know you're bald, you're orange, you have white backgrounds, you shoot awesome videos. So pumped to have you here on the show, right? But the intro should be something that you like about them, you love, you want to dive into, and then right away into your problem. So if it's me and you're saying you build a system for yourself to help you believe in yourself by making daily videos because you wanted that to push you to a better spot. I got to be honest with you, man. I struggle with this every day. I want to build something extraordinary. And some days I'm feeling it. And most days I wake up and I feel like a piece of garbage. How do I build that for me like you've done for yourself? That's your intro and your first question plus your like personal story all wrapped in. That's how you start the show.
Okay.
But it only works with people that you actually genuinely want to learn from. And the truth is, you feel really weak in it.
Funny. Oh, weak in it?
Weak in it. Like you recognize the deficiency that you're not great at it.
Yeah. And
you have such disrespect for everybody else's because you feel like they all suck at it too, and you know more. In the first 5 minutes of every conversation, that's what's going to happen. You're going to leave with some curiosity, and as you dive in, you realize, oh, I already know more than this person, and you're going to get bored of the conversation. That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Yep.
But I really want to do this. I don't know why I want to do it. I want to do it because I want to create something that helps people and something of meaning. And
great. So have it help you.
The reason why I haven't put together a list of people to interview is of just like, I don't know who to interview, you know?
You've done no research. What are you talking about? I don't know. How much time have you spent actually researching people to interview?
Nobody. No.
Great.
I'm just saying I've been thinking.
I wonder why you have no list, because you spent no time researching.
Listen, it's only been 3 days. Idea to action. Monday was the day that I decided that I need to do this, and then I texted Louis right away and said I need to practice.
Dude, I love it. I love it. But you're criticizing yourself for like, I don't even know who to interview. Well, that's stupid because you've spent no time actually researching. So spend an hour researching.
I will find some people and I will do these interviews. I just, yeah, I mean, listen, you've hit on something. One of my concerns is that the conversations would be too shallow, or even with this, even the conversations you and I have, you know, there's sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes where we're 40 minutes into what should be a 1 hour podcast. And I go, I guess that's it. We've answered it. We're supposed to fill an hour. It's only been 40 minutes. And then usually we end up going on to some other really weird random topic. So that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I'm worried that I'm going to be 8 minutes into a conversation with someone and I'm going to be like, oh, okay.
4. Yeah, half that. Half your 8.
4 minutes into a conversation.
Unless you spend 4 minutes doing their intro, which will be super boring. Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem.
so if this were about business, marketing, sales strategies, like just next level things, if this was about, I don't know, heavy machinery and equipment and whatnot, like I'm so interested in it. If it's about people's backstories and where they came from and why they did what they did, I'm super interested in it. But none of those things have anything to do with something to prove, with doubt, with overcoming doubt or any of those things, or thinking big, being bold and saying yes, which is what my personal brand. Okay. It's the thing that you said that I can swim forever for. It's the thing
that's not true, for. Dude. That's not inside of everybody's backstory is fear and insecurity and doubt and something to prove and thinking big and bold and say yes. That's everybody's backstory. Just the scale of what big means it will be different, but that's everybody's backstory. Your challenge isn't that. Your challenge is, do you want to be the documentarian, historian, let me share your story and pull it out of you? Or do you want to be I want to get better at this, and that's why you're on my show to coach me? Because
both.
But the first one is boring. Nah, the first one's boring. You don't want to do the first one. You don't want to just tell people stories. You're past that. You're going to get so bored of that. You're going to get so bored. Someone's going to be telling their story and like, this isn't that big a deal. Like, it's great that you think you did something big, but this is not that big a deal. And you'll be polite and you'll help them. And half of them will turn into coaching sessions with Mark. Awesome. And you'll feel good that you served them and helped them. And then still feel like, when can I build the show I actually want to build?
Okay.
Yeah. So you got to go research people who talk about doubt and fear and insecurities. That's not Tom Bilyeu. And build your list. Lots of people have written books. Go read the book. See if it actually spoke to you for some reason. Go read their papers. They have to be able to school you on it. But that's why you're there. You're there to learn. I'm here to learn. You have to be genuinely excited about something. Like there's some nugget.
That was the biggest issue we had with the last podcast. It was very hard for me to be the host and the expert at the same time. It just meant I was talking all the time.
Yeah. It's a great format. It's just not what you want to be.
It's a great format if there is a host and an expert. In this format, you very much take the role of the expert. I very much take the role of the host or the person looking for help. And it works, but very rarely are you the expert and I'm the expert at the same time, and we're just arguing about things, right? Or you
can be host and expert at the same time. You just don't want to. You don't want to be that. You don't want to do that.
Well, you end up just talking. It just ends up being an hour of you talking the whole time.
Or whatever, a call-in show. It's the same thing. You're the host and the expert. Hey, welcome to my show. Let's go, callers. Ask me questions. Boom, and you answer them. It's the same thing. You just don't want to do that. You want to learn. You want to learn, and in your learning, other people learn. That's how you're going to serve.
Louis said this thing yesterday where on a totally different conversation we were having, he goes, Mark, your whole thing is you're in the pursuit of truth.
Okay.
And you're always chasing it because it matters a lot to you. And I was like, I hadn't thought of it that way. That seemed really profound and interesting to me. I don't know. That makes me see, this is why I'm a bad host, a bad podcaster. It makes me think of what you're saying, makes me think of what he's saying, is that I want to pursue truth. I want to learn. I want to do those things. I guess I just don't know enough about the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, not to be the expert, because I'm not an expert in it, but to even know where to begin in terms of who I should be speaking to find out that sweet level of not stuff that I already know, not the stuff that you see on bloody Instagram with these one-line quotes here and there,
that sweet level,
that middle level between like, I can keep up with this conversation because you're not like way crazy, like science
whatever.
Stuff I don't know.
Way
and then
crazy.
On the other side, like, just the type of quotes that you see up on walls in yoga studios. Like there has to be a middle.
No. I think leaning in, listen, Tom had a guy, you love Tom. Tom had a guy on his Talk with Tom. Tom Talks.
His podcast. I listen to it every day.
Conversations with Tom. It's the other one. It's the long one.
Yeah.
And he had a guy, some science guy, I forget his name. I don't remember what they're talking about.
Yeah, talking about coronavirus, right?
No, it wasn't Corona.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember what it was, to be honest. But the most memorable part of it was halfway through the interview, Tom said, I knew this was going to happen at some point. where you were gonna come in at such a high level and speak in language that I felt insecure and I don't understand. So help break down what you just said in dumber English, because I don't understand what you just told me. Like, say, and there's a couple of times in the interview he says, can you say that in a different way, because I don't understand it. And he's constantly trying to understand what the heck this guy just said, which also makes it
which is crazy though, because Tom's comprehension of all of this stuff is like,
it's next level.
Very, very, very high. Yeah.
But he knew going in that this guy was going to come in at a crazy, insane level, and that it was going to happen, and he was prepared for it. And he told them multiple times, "Can you say that in a different way?" So I wouldn't default to just staying in the middle. I understand the getting rid of the bottom, but go for the top. And like, that guy isn't probably so difficult I never heard of him before. I just went to Google and typed in mindset expert and came across Michelle Bianco. I help high-performing individuals crush self-doubt. Maybe you look at her and it's like, pfft. Or maybe it's like, ooh, all you have to do is find one thing that you want to pull on to see if you can learn. And that's what it is, mindset expert, overcoming doubt, and see there's a lot of people who will just post content and you'll watch the video and it's like, this person, forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, the best interview I've done recently, no disrespect to you, but the best interview I've done recently was with my coach. We did a 1-hour interview on goal setting because I suck at setting goals and I really wanted to get better at it. And he went through some kind of like basic SMART goal things, but at the same time, we spent 1 full hour on it, and it was a lot of fun, and it became really, really valuable to me because I just suck at setting goals.
Okay, great. So if you suck at it, and you want to get better at it, which
Yes.
is also important, right? You suck at most things. So do I. Doesn't mean you want to get better at it.
Thank you for adding yourself to that. Yes.
I suck at everything. Great. I don't want to get better at fixing a car. So it's not going to be very helpful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
I'm surprised listen, this is way off topic now. I'm surprised you even paint. Like, I know like 3 or 4 months ago, you did this random, maybe it was at Christmas or whatever. You're like, I'm going to paint the bathroom. Like, it was this really random thing. I'm surprised you even paint, man. Because
why did I do it?
Why did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
You did it for Nina.
No, I didn't do it for Nina.
You didn't?
No, that's my office bathroom.
Oh, because it reminds you of water? I don't know. Idea to action?
Because I value speed. Because I came up with the idea. Yeah. I went to Home Depot and I did it that day. It's not like I'm going to take care of this next week. I prioritize speed.
No, I'm surprised you even paint, meaning like that you have the technical proficiency to like, and the time and the effort and the focus and the attention to detail to actually even paint.
Dude, I have great attention to detail when I want to.
Right.
I have insane focus when I want to.
Right. Which means you can hang your own light in your dining room. You don't need me to come along and hang it for you, right?
Of course. I just don't want to learn that stuff.
Okay.
Wasn't important enough.
I love it. I know you can do anything. You're just the most blatant person I know of not doing things you don't want to do.
Great. That could be an episode.
Most people
learn how to do that.
Don't think they can do stuff.
Hold on, back up. Hold on. What you just said is an intro for a podcast. Go back and rewind and listen.
Okay.
Of all the people I know, I forget what you said. You're the guy who doesn't do the things that he doesn't want to do.
No. It's most people don't think they can do stuff.
No. That's not what you said. That's what you said after.
You can do anything.
Uh-huh.
You're just super blatant with the things you won't do.
Great. I respect that, and I need to learn how to do it.
I'm too much of a chicken to do that. Thank you. I care too much about what other people think.
Great. Then that becomes the show. But you said something personal.
Yes.
That you know about me, your guest,
mm-hmm.
that you respect, admire, want to learn how it's done. That's your intro. That's your first question, and a little bit about your store and the context. That's it. That's your intro. That's a perfect intro. Yep.
So Evan Carmichael, welcome to the show. So you are someone who I believe can do absolutely anything. And yet, from what I know about you, it seems like you blatantly refuse to do so many things. How is it that you have the courage or the strength to just say like, I know I can do anything, but I'm only going to focus on these things?
No, back to you. No, I struggle with boom.
And
You gotta
I
make
struggle.
it personal.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Evan Carmichael.
Specific, and then personal.
Perfect.
What specifically are you talking about?
Evan Carmichael, you seem like the type of person who can do anything. And I know that you actually believe that you can do anything if you cared enough about it. And yet...
Specific. What does that mean? Give me something specific.
I don't know. How would I know that if I don't know you that well? How would I know that?
What's the whole point? Dude, you don't need to know me that well. You need to pick one thing. Like, what's the one thing about me or Tom Bilyeu or whatever guest that you want to guide this conversation towards that they did that impressed you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what specifically are you talking about? Or what was the topic? I don't remember. How I can do anything? What impressed you?
I know that you can do anything. You can do anything, but yet you refuse to do so much.
So what's an example of like, because if I don't, it's one great context for the audience, but it's rapport building with your guests so that this is a different kind of interview. The saying, hey, I know that you believe you can do anything. That's anybody. Like who's gonna? That's such a generic intro.
No,
yes,
that's like people hate their life. Most people don't think that they can do anything.
But any of your guests,
they're achievers, so they will have done it anyway.
It's too general.
Well, but the reason I know that is because I've sat across from you at dinner or over the years.
But that's what you share.
And you're just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Okay, so here you go. So ready?
Yeah.
So somehow, let's assume somehow I found this out about you. But
yeah,
anyway.
Great.
Evan Carmichael, can I tell you one thing that impresses me more than anything else is you seem like the kind of guy who literally can do anything. Like there was a time where your whole business was about running a website to get as many links, as many articles as possible. And in one day you just shut it off and said, I'm going to become a YouTuber.
Wow.
You can do absolutely anything. And yet it seems like you refuse to chase all of those things. I'm an entrepreneur. And my biggest problem is one, I feel bad if I don't help people out. Two, I focus on way too many things and I don't like to say no to people. How is it that you believe you can do anything and yet you're willing to focus on the things that matter most?
That was better. First off, I'm thinking, wow, this guy did his homework. That's insane. Like, and you're not even picking an easy story, right? Like, that's not what I usually talk about. That's not first chapter of the book kind of story,
but that's
right?
The cheating thing. No one would know that one day you came to us in Mastermind.
Yeah, but that's not that hard to do, to be honest. Like, go to somebody's Instagram and just see what they're talking about. They're sharing stories all the time.
Yes.
And find something that you actually then care and connect to, right?
So I was on a podcast on Saturday, podcast Playing Injured.
Oh yeah.
And I really enjoyed the experience because right about 2 hours before the podcast, I went out for a 10K run and I went and I listened to their first 2 episodes of their podcast.
Okay.
And I learned about the hosts and I got their backstories and I learned all this stuff. And then I listened to a few other random ones real quick. And so when I jumped on the podcast like 2 hours later with the host, it's like I knew he grew up in Chicago. I knew he was 23. I knew all of this stuff about him. I'd taken some notes and I was like, great. I could hear from certain words that his co-host was a Christian, that he's married, that he's 32, that he played soccer. The other guy played basketball. Like I can remember all this stuff. And so I was like, I am so ready to have this conversation. And then like, it was only one of the guys. We didn't talk about any of that stuff. And afterwards I was like, oh man, I was like so prepped because I so enjoyed getting a sense of who I would be speaking to and not coming into it totally cold and knowing the audience and all those things. So I think if I was speaking to someone like you or interviewing someone, I would take my time to do my homework. So that way I knew them. Yeah.
Listen, even as a guest, no guest does that amount of prep work. So you should figure out a way in your answer to tie something that in.
Oh, I did.
Okay, good. And he blew his face off, right?
I was like, hey, you guys had a conversation about being an A player in a B game. And he's like, yeah, we did. And I was yeah. Here's the thing. I've never felt like an A player in a B game. I felt like a B player in a B game. What do you do if not? And so anyway, yeah, I love that stuff.
Great.
So Evan, I asked you that great question, blah, 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 blah. There's my intro. I pulled some thread for there was a time where you had your entire business that you spent years building that you literally went, it's dead. I'm going to go
decided to move on. So the question's about focus. Because you said 1 and 2, just like leave with one question. What's the one question? That's what happens. And then you said 1 and then 2. So what do you want me to answer?
I don't remember what the question was. That was like
Great.
5 minutes ago.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
But I was, just before this, I was on another person's podcast, and halfway through, I made them cry. Season 2, 65 episodes in, and the question that I got asked, it was like the 8th question or something, was which 3 people have you learned the most from the people that you profiled? And I could feel like wasn't that invested in that question. And I said, hey, are you asking this question because you actually care for you, or you think this is something your audience cares about? I said, it's more for my audience. Like, you're never allowed to ask a question like that again.
So it became coaching time.
It did, but that's my role. I'm the expert coming on to coach. And it ended up like big problem of being vulnerable and not being perfect, and all this stuff came out, and great. And we, I coached through that session. Awesome. And I said, this is exactly what you need to have on your show, because your guests nobody's pushing you enough. Your guests aren't pushing you. Your family's not pushing you. Nobody's pushing you. They're telling you how great you are. Awesome. You need to push. You need the person saying, I love you. You suck. Let's go. And so you get that from your guests. You open up the door with your vulnerability and your story, and then they become the push for you to get better at the thing. But that's my role. So I said, this episode is number 65 or whatever in your series. This is the best episode you've done, not because I showed up, but because you showed up with your story and your willingness to share and cry. And it doesn't mean you have to cry in every episode, but emotion on every episode. Most guests won't flip the script like that. Mm-hmm. They'll just answer the same question. Oh, these 3 people. And then great, you get the same podcast that everybody else gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was running the other day, listening to not David Goggins' book, but some of his interviews. Okay. It's just the same interview, same story. I still love it. I love his story. He's a very good speaker. Little nuance, change, difference. But I always, for the last month, I've been thinking, if I could have Goggins sitting across from me, mm-hmm. I would love to ask him these questions, but I don't think I could get a different interview out of him than other people have already gotten. He's been interviewed a lot. He does tell the same stories.
But what question would you ask him that's different than other people haven't asked him?
So in hearing his story, I don't know if I'm going to sound like a jerk. In hearing his story, he's done amazing things. He always says that he's not a superhuman and he doesn't want people to build him up or give him labels or titles. Okay. I see nothing but a string of screw ups and failures in every one of his steps. And at the end of every chapter, he wraps it in a little bow to the lesson he learned. Okay. But all I see is someone trying to put a really good spin or story on a lot of stupid mistakes. And I would want to.
So what's your question?
If he didn't get angry at me for that, I would want to dig more into that. He said, so he wanted to. What's the question? What's the question? Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I would want to, I don't feel like I've ever heard anyone dig into the fact that he's like, I want to be an Army Ranger. And so he went to being an Army Ranger, and then he took his mind off of it and he ran the wrong direction, and then he cheated, and then he hoped he could still get in, and then he got eliminated and he went, well, that's life. And then he goes on to the next thing. I want to be like all of these stories are there, and all of these failures are there, and these little lessons are learned along the way. And his overall arch inspires the hell out of me, and what he's accomplished inspires the hell out of me. But there's just so many mistakes in there that I would want to dig deeper into because it seems like he's just like, well, that's life. That's the way it is. I would have to think about the question, but those are the moments I'd want to explore with him.
Great. But still got to get to what the question is. There's another 2 minutes of explaining without a question.
I'd think about it before I sat down with him.
But that's how you get a unique interview, right? It's like you have enough context on him to know where it can push and not have him be too pissed off, right? You want to call him out on something, plus show lots of love to say, I think you are superhuman, or I'm inspired the heck out of your story. Here's what I don't understand. Question. That's your lead. And then you just keep pulling on that thread of your curiosity. So that's a good example. Find more people like David Goggins. There's lots of people like David Goggins.
Sure. He's pretty unique. He's a pretty unique guy.
But there's lots of, if you want like intensity people, there's lots of intense people. If you want people who've broken lots of world records, there's people who've done that. You want people who've, you know, run with broken limbs and such, people who've done that. David Goggins was nobody before David Goggins, right? I mean, before like he stayed with Jesse's Itzler and then they wrote the book. Nobody knew who he was. Like he was this guy who had some YouTube videos about doing pull-ups or something or running through the desert, right? He was totally accessible. There's other people like that. Look at anybody who's won.
I know. I'm just giving an example of something I've been rolling around in my mind because I, you know.
I think it's great. What should be rolling around in your mind is what question would I ask David Goggins?
I would figure out the question, but that's the time that's the area I would want to focus on.
Great. So you lead with that and then ask your question and then ask more questions. Just like the interview I did with Tom, right? It's all stuff that I cared about. I think there's a real angle with the, I think you'll honestly have better results from athletes or army people.
It's people who appear to have their together, and either they do, but I want to know how they got there, or they don't, and I want to know how they get through it anyway.
I don't think there's going to be very many mindset experts or coaches who you're actually going to listen to and respect.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think you need high intensity, no BS athletes and military people. I think you'll just connect super well. I think you'll love it.
It doesn't have to be that. I mean, like I was out with Jacqueline. We were going for a walk midday, and I said, I don't know what this person about 2 months ago was interviewing me on a podcast, and they said, alive or dead? Final question: alive or dead? Who would you want to spend time with in an interview? And I was like, Oprah. And they're like, oh, okay, Oprah. Okay, that's weird. And I was like, no. Like, here's all the reasons why. And then I said, well, let me think about this. And then I said, maybe Mindy Kaling. I'm like, she's very, very smart. She's very sharp. And then I was thinking as I was driving home, like, I'd also like to speak to Ellen. And I just start rolling these people around in my mind. And suddenly it's like, I really like speaking. I really want to connect with strong women. For some reason, strong women who have worked through diversity is
great. So what's Haley, like, wow. Haley Wickenheiser, what she's up to right now?
I don't even know who that is. She's a Canadian someone?
Haley, hold on. Haley, I'm going to butcher her story.
Canadian, is she from the Canadian hockey team?
She's like the greatest female Canadian hockey player of all time. She's
the one who went against the Americans. She was the captain of the Canadian team when they were spitting on our flag and walking on it, those Americans.
I don't know, but she's currently the assistant director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I don't know if I think she's the only, she's not the only. I don't know what her journey into men's hockey was. Like there was a time where she was either in men's hockey or wanted to get into men's hockey or played in Europe or something. I'm not that much of a hockey fan, but like that mindset would make you feel so inferior. And it's awesome. Like, I think it'll be great. I think it's exactly what you need. That's what you want. That's like, you want the awkward conversations.
Yeah.
Like, how did she accomplish this? You'll make your problems feel so small and insignificant compared to what they had to overcome and how tough and gritty they are.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Men or women, I love it. Or the other option is like the deep academic research where they just super smart. They're way smarter than you and have ideas that you've never heard of and have data to back it up when you feel insecure about that too. I think those are the two angles. I think if it's just mindset, business coach stuff, I think you're gonna tap out pretty quick. Yeah, I would look at like UFC fighters. You can look at the women. If you like women, I mean, it's I guess bad to say, but they're gonna be more accessible. They're just not as big a name. Like for the legend that Haley Wickenheiser is in her sport, if that was men's hockey, she's Wayne Gretzky. It'd be really hard to get Wayne Gretzky. It's not that it's not hard to get Haley Wickenheiser, but people just don't know her name as much. So it's going to be easier.
Right.
And you're not going for necessarily big name people yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going for the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of people who've overcome some really crazy stuff. And you respect their grit and work ethic to get through it. Because at the end of the day, you feel like you don't have enough grit to toughen out.
Following up on our discipline conversation from last week, I really want more grit. Yes.
Yeah. So having Haley says, "What do you mean, Mark? I just did it. What's your problem?" Or whatever, right? It's like,
yeah. And I go, well, what do you mean? And then she's like, I just got up every morning and I just worked. It's
right.
Like,
and then you're gonna feel but it's gonna but it's actually gonna inspire you.
I don't think I've told, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but when all of our gyms shut down, so if I have someone yelling at me,
yes,
I perk up and I go hard, and I will do it because they're yelling at me. Work harder, Mark. You can lift more, because I want to. So all the gyms shut down, and suddenly I'm running on my own, and I have music playing, and I can't get through the runs.
But I think you have to also respect that person.
Well, so here's the thing. I started listening to podcasts. Okay, I'm going to try to stop saying here's the thing. Here's the thing. I started listening to podcasts and really aggressive interviews while I'm jogging. And I shaved off of my 10K run. I shaved 7.5 minutes. So rather than do it in like a 55 to like 58 minute for a 10K run, I did it in like 50 minutes and 30 seconds into a headwind. And I was like, I feel great about myself, but it's literally like just listening to podcasts. Because when you're running and you're in pain, but you're listening to someone tell a story about just the worst tragedies or the most overcome things, you're like, come on, if this person, I can keep running. I can go faster. This person's talking about this thing that they had to go through.
Yeah.
So now I don't listen to music.
But you need the tougher side. It's not like all this stuff happened and then I joined this hug circle and every day we hug each other. You need the anger. You need the grit, anger.
Yeah. I do. I was listening. Yeah.
But there's lots of people who are like that. There's tons of people who are like that. You just don't know who they are. And the world doesn't know who they are. And that can be your job.
Is it enough to just focus on fear, doubt, insecurity, and having something to prove, and with the outcome of wanting to think big, be bold, and say yes, like just circle around all of that stuff all the time, and
you circle around what you want to learn from them. Like, go look at Haley's story. Look at what she went through. You're going to find 3 things that you super admire that you feel like I would never be able to do that if I was in her position. And I want to ask her about what she would do in my shoes. I want to learn from her. Yeah, it'd be great. And you're going to have people come on. I mean, you can also have like drill sergeants come on, the Army drill sergeants. Like, I think it's great. I think athletes, men, women, I think military, men, women, or scientists, or like deep data, super smart, nerdy people.
Can I tell you that I'm really into the art? I'm not a comedian, but I love listening to comedians talk about the art of becoming comedians, because it is one of the craziest, hardest things to do, right?
Sure.
Full of insecurities, lots and lots of practice. You're going on stage, facing failure all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But then also the wordplay and the craft, and then controlling and manipulating the audiences to get that feeling that you want, that outcome that you want, the surprise. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's great.
You're proud of yourself, aren't you? Thank you.
I think it's great. I think it's such an easy win. I think there's so many people who you could do it on.
Yeah. Okay. I got to start. Idea to action. Let's go.
Yeah. So not our podcast listeners. Look,
podcast listeners, if you fit into this category of what
I'm typing in toughest women alive into Google.
Oh man.
That's who, 7 of the most badass women who ever lived.
Can I tell you, I finished watching the, on Netflix, there was a 4-part Hillary documentary on Hillary Clinton. Man, is she such a badass woman that I didn't even realize. Because I was too young to realize what she did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But if anyone likes strong women, you can watch the Hillary documentary, whether you agree with their politics or not.
This is great. Yeah, I like it. Mark feeling insecure and getting strong. That's how you do it. Yeah.
There you go.
100 badass women that changed the way the world we live in today. Like, listen, okay, strong women athlete. There's all these people I've never heard of. Becca Swanson, Jill Mills. I mean, I'm probably super ignorant, but I'm sure people know who Jill Mills is. And look, can I share screen? Let me share my screen.
Sure.
The podcast listeners can't, but I just need to see Mark's face when we show him Jill Mills.
Who's like what, like an aggressive bodybuilder or someone who's gonna be? Is she gonna be? Wow, that is a strong woman from what looks like the 90s, based on her hair.
Okay,
maybe the 80s.
Jill Mills. You need to go reach out to her. That's who you need on your podcast, right there. She was the world's strongest woman.
She's basically like the Arnold Schwarzenegger
of women.
Of women, yeah.
Yeah, look at this one. Can you do that, Mark?
I cannot do that. I can do a one-handed lift with my son who weighs 80 pounds, but not with that.
This is who you need on. Look, she's not lifting anymore. She's 48 years old.
Yeah.
What's she doing right now?
Yeah.
Talking to Mark Drager.
Jill Mills.
Jill Mills, Instagram. What's she doing?
There we go. Well,
it's not even her. You got to find her.
No.
Like, you can't even find her on Instagram. This is fantastic.
She's probably on Facebook.
Great, but like, she's not the school librarian.
School librarian, mother, wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the point is, this is the person who was. You talk about Arnold, right? It's hard to get. We tried to get Arnold. It's hard to get Arnold.
I know.
Those big guys are hard to get. She was the strongest woman in the world, and you can't even find her, right? She's not getting asked to do podcasts about grit and overcoming fear and doubt and insecurities. And she's going to blow your face off and make you feel super insecure and nervous on the call. Even just like the whole day leading up to the call, you're going to be sweating. It's amazing.
You just love the thought of that, do you?
No, you love the thought of that. I'm wearing your skin, Mark. You love the thought of that.
Awesome. Well, I feel great now.
Great.
I was worried you wouldn't play along, and you didn't really, but that's okay. This is better.
Gave you what you needed.
This is better than a fake podcast episode with a fake interview, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the only thing I would say for anyone listening who has an idea because you want to do something, try it and talk to people about it and share it. You know, like if I was waiting for perfection to get the name and to get the server and to get it set up and to get my opening and to book my first guest and to do all of that stuff, I would have done all of that stuff, waited 2 or 3 months, and then Evan would have listened and gone, this is garbage. It was much easier for me to bring it to him as a concept. And then in an hour, we could bang out something much better.
Great. I mean, you knew the first one was garbage anyways. Why you caught it early?
Louis, I know you're listening. It's my fault, not your fault.
Oh, it's 100% your fault.
Yeah.
Of all the things but you can learn a lot from Louis. This isn't the thing that you want to learn.
Yeah. I should have asked him more about how he understands people. And
Right.
Birds.
Right.
Said, man, I heard that you talk to birds. How did you become the Cinderella
He still
of
has
operations
to do that.
and team building?
That's an episode. That's a good video.
Is that a good
episode.
opening?
Get rid of your pre-roll garbage challenge and go to a park with Louis and film him making a squirrel come to him. That's what I'm talking about. Not with food, just by talking to them.
Just through heart and love.
Yeah, Louis doesn't even believe in it as much as he could do it. He needs to do it.
Yeah.
The squirrel in the park.
There's a good opening for you. Hey, Evan Carmichael, I've heard that you believe in others more than they even believe in yourself, and it makes you angry. You know what? I hardly ever believe in myself, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
No, that's so fake. That's incredulous.
I could have done it better.
Fake.
But it's true. That's something I would love to talk to you about. How is it like, yeah, anyway. Why do you believe in others more than they believe in themselves? What makes you care so much?
It's very exciting. All right, you got your momentum. Let's go, Mark.
Okay.
Make it happen. We
Thank
want
you
the
all.
progress report next week.
Will do.
Hey, podcast listeners, email Mark with ideas of strong women and tough people that he needs to be around to make him feel more insecure and have on his show.
Mark@markdrager.com.
There you go. If you want to know how to change your habits with Evan Carmichael and Mark Drager, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe. We'll see you there. Dude, Jill Mills needs to be your first guest. She terrifies you. It's the best. It's so good.
She really does.
I know. It's great.
For anyone watching still, you can see my face. I am terrified.